pushing yourself. All of us understand the concept of pushing ourselves. We all understand the value, the inherent value of when we push ourselves. In other words, making ourselves move faster, more frequently, and to simply do stuff that we know we need to do that for whatever reason, maybe right now we are not quite doing it or not doing it at all. Now, the challenge is not that any of us is ignorant of the concept. We all are familiar with the concept. We all know what it means. We all know what it can do for us, and we all can probably think of, not probably, take that word out. We all definitely can think of some aspects in our lives where if we started doing it, things would project to get better. If I just push myself more in my fitness, push myself more in my business, push myself more in my to do certain things in my relationships, things would get better. We all can make that projection and theorize that that's what would happen. The challenge is, of course, we don't do it. Now, let me tell you what led to me actually thinking about this one specifically here today, because the day that I'm recording this, I just ran in a 10K race. So for those of you who know my background's in sports, playing basketball. Shout out to, I believe the gentleman's name was Carlos. He was working he was one of the people working, the crew for the race that I was running at. He said he used to watch my YouTube basketball videos back in the day. So after I stopped playing basketball, which was almost 10 years ago, I needed something to do physically just to give myself something to aim for. So I started running. And running, I mean like running outside, like 10Ks. I've done a couple marathons, stuff like that. So anyway, I ran a 10K race today. And I wasn't even in my game shape yet because I took some time off from running, took like 6 weeks off from running. And I just started running again a few weeks ago. And it usually takes about 4 to 6 weeks to get back into game shape. So I knew I wasn't in game shape yet, but I entered this race anyway because I heard about it. I said, I'll enter the race anyway. Let's see how I do. And one of the challenges when I was getting ready for this race was that in my training runs, I would often find myself like stopping to take breaks. And the 10K, by the way, is about 6.25 miles, which is not really that far. I can run 6.25 miles without stopping. I don't need a break. I don't need water. I don't need nothing. But when I was training for the run, for this race, I would be running that distance and I would stop at like 2 miles. I would stop at 4 miles, stop at 5.5 because I wasn't quite in condition yet to do it. But then in the race here today, as I told you, I wasn't even in game shape, but I ran the whole thing. Actually, I stopped one time for 20 seconds. But other than that, I ran the whole thing without stopping, which told me as soon as I finished the race, I was telling myself this, like, I know I could push myself to do it because on race day, you pause, you can't, pause the time, the clock doesn't stop. You pause, the clock doesn't stop, it all works against you. And people pass you, you don't catch back up. Like, that's just what it is. You stopped. That's part of your time. Whereas in training, you can kind of give yourself some leeway and you can stall yourself out. And it said to me, I can push myself like this even when it's not a race, even when I'm not racing against anybody, even when it's 5 o'clock in the morning and I'm running outside and there's no people out there. I can still push myself the exact same way. And, excuse me, on top of that, there's no reason why we can't apply this same framework. And I, thinking of myself before I recorded this video, can't apply the same framework to every other aspect of my life. Is there, again, we all know the things we can push ourselves to do better. We just look at our own lives. Oh, I could do better at that. I could do a little bit faster here. I could hold myself a little bit more accountable there. We could all do this. We simply don't do it. Why? Because human beings are inherently lazy. We are designed to conserve energy. That's a biological thing. I'm not saying that like anything's wrong with us mentally. We are biologically designed to conserve energy. Like back in the caveman days, we had to run after some predator. You had to run after some prey that you might eat, or you had to run away from a predator who might kill you or an enemy. That's how we are biologically wired. So many people, we find it hard to push ourselves unless there is a circumstance that forces us to move faster, i.e. running away from an enemy or a predator or running after some prey. And since we aren't in that situation all the time, we tend to slack off and get complacent and take our time when we could ideally all the time be on, all the time be locked in to move ourselves to action. So this video is really just it's a reminder to everybody out there. Where could you be pushing yourself more often? None of you is clueless about this. You know exactly where and how you could be pushing yourself more often. The question is, are you willing to push yourself to do the pushing? Are you willing to push yourself to push yourself? This woman just rode in front of me. She don't even have a stop. I don't have a stop sign, but she does. She's rode in front of me. But anyway, folks, where are you letting yourself off the hook? Where are you moving too slow too often? And where are you not engaging that sense of urgency that you would activate if the situation forced you to, but because the situation is often not forcing you to, you are simply not doing it. And again, all of us is aware, and all of us can name a bunch of areas of our lives in which this applies. The question is, are we willing to engage it and enact it? That's the real question, not whether or not there is anything, but are you willing to engage it and make it work? So take this as a public service announcement, a friendly reminder, a notification, a nudge, if you will, that you can push yourself in ways that you haven't been pushing yourself, or ways that you've just been conveniently ignoring, whether consciously or subconsciously. And a lot of the things that you want are simply on the other side of that push. And that's a decision that you can make. Work on your game. Dre, workonyourgameuniversity.com. Work on your game. Dre all day.